So what would it look like for you if it were different? If you didn't have that responsibility and if they weren't leaning on you, what would your life look like? What would you be doing?
Oh, I would have soared higher.
You think so?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm angry at everybody in my family. I don't like my family. If they weren't my family, they wouldn't be my friends.
Toni Braxton wasn't just holding the mic, she was holding up her entire family. And now, she's finally speaking up about what many people suspected for years. She was the one making the money, keeping things together, and it's taken a serious toll on her body and mind. Since childhood, Toni had to act like an adult, performing, earning, and protecting while the rest of her family sat back and enjoyed the ride without helping. She's done staying quiet behind the polished image of Braxton family values. Things weren't as perfect as they seemed. There was a lot of hidden tension and selfish behavior. Her family leaned so heavily on her that they ignored the fact she could only take so much. Now, she's directly calling out Trina and Towanda for going too far, taking from her, stealing her peace, and still making her feel like she wasn't doing enough. That kind of emotional pain isn't something money can solve. While fans were celebrating their sisterhood, Toni was overwhelmed trying to feed, clothe, and take care of everyone around her with no space left for herself.
Burden on you is the one that made it out. But you gotta be willing to let them fly.
I feel like I do. I feel like they don't let me fly.
There's a lot going on here, so take a breath, no joke. Everyone's talking about the Braxtons making their return to TV, and things are already looking messy. From the outside, it seemed like Toni Braxton had everything: an incredible voice, Grammys, magazine covers, and that star glow. But behind all the fame, she was miserable. Still, before we get too far, let's give Toni the respect she truly deserves. Before most people even knew how to spell Grammy, Toni was winning them. She dominated the charts, owned red carpets, redefined R&B, and supported a whole family who treated her success like it belonged to them too. Call her an artist if you want, but she's a true legend. 7 Grammy wins, over 70 million records sold, and a voice that could bring you to tears whether you're at the club or in church. And now she's got almost nothing to show for it. That's the truth.
70 million in sales, and you got $1,972? Is that right?
That's right.
Now people are starting to ask what really happened. It all began in Severn, Maryland's 6 kids, a gospel-singing mother, and a house full of big dreams. Toni was the oldest, and when their mom had a serious accident and ended up in the hospital for a long time, everything changed. Toni didn't just lose her childhood, she never got to experience it. She became the caretaker, making sure her siblings had food and a place to stay. Their dad was doing his best, working non-stop to keep the family afloat. When Toni's music career blew up in the 90s with songs like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again, things at home got tense fast. Instead of being celebrated, her own sisters started treating her like a personal ATM.
About 13 or 14, my mom, she had a really bad accident. She fell. Her back was really messed up, so she was in the hospital a long time. And so I was a surrogate parent for a moment.
Where was Dad?
Working, had to make a living, had 6 kids.
Toni recently opened up about how drained she's felt for years emotionally and financially. She said she wasn't just carrying the Braxton name, she was carrying the bills, the car payments, the rent, everything. Even when the family came up with business ideas that flopped, she was the one left covering the losses. She didn't break down the exact numbers, but it's obvious they took everything they could from her. Toni didn't always point fingers, but it was clear Trina and Towanda were high on that list. She explained it wasn't just the emotional weight, it was the fact that they expected to get paid just to work with her. Tamar, for all her drama, was actually helping cover expenses, and didn't ask for a dime. That's real support. She even did backup vocals for free when it was time to perform. But Trina, she was sending invoices, and even though Towanda was working as Toni's executive assistant and was paid, she still didn't fully support her. And then there's their mom. Toni's words hit hard when she said, "I could have soared higher if I didn't have to carry so much." That line says everything.
They weren't leaning on you. What would your life look like? What would you be doing?
Oh, I would have soared higher.
Toni was the oldest, and when their mom had a serious accident that kept her in the hospital for a long time, everything changed. Toni didn't just lose her childhood, she never got one. She stepped up as the second mom, making sure her siblings had food and a roof over their heads. Their dad was doing all he could, working non-stop to keep things afloat. Then Toni's career took off in the 90s with massive hits like Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again. But instead of being celebrated, the energy at home shifted. Her own sisters started treating her like a human ATM recently. Toni opened up about how drained she's been mentally and financially for years. She said she carried everything, The Braxton name, the bills, the rent, the car payments, even the failed business ventures. She didn't reveal the exact amount she spent, but it's obvious they drained her dry. Toni never outright listed names, but it was clear Trina and Towanda were at the top. She mentioned it wasn't just the emotional stress, it was that they wanted to be paid just to work with her. Tamar, despite all her chaos, actually helped cover bills and never asked for a penny. That's real loyalty. She even did backup vocals for free when it was time to perform. Trina, on the other hand, was sending invoices. And yes, Towanda was her assistant and got paid. But even then, she wasn't really in Toni's corner. And when Toni said, "I could have soared higher if I didn't have to carry so much," that line hit hard. It says everything.
You were upset about stories that your overspending caused this. Because it would appear, and you can explain to us whatever you want to explain to us, but it would appear that even if you don't believe that you got the percentages you felt that you got, you still knew that there was a certain amount of money coming in. And exactly. And you overspent that amount of money.
Well, I was doing math. 1 + 1 is 2 all day long, all across.
Toni worked hard to build her career, paying her own way to success. But in the end, she had to give it all back, with almost nothing left to show for it. Most people didn't realize how deep her problems really went until that one interview. With Oprah, that sit-down turned into a total disaster. You'd expect one powerful woman to show empathy to another, especially during a tough time. But instead, Oprah hit Toni with one of the coldest, most dismissive questions, basically asking how she could be broke if she was so famous. Toni came in hoping for understanding, but instead she got embarrassed on national TV. The backlash was harsh, and public opinion quickly turned against her. There were even rumors that Oprah warned Toni's record label ahead of time, tipping them off that she might speak out. That made it feel like Oprah was siding with the industry instead of supporting the woman right in front of her. That interview didn't just stink, it seriously hurt Toni's career. Still, she kept trying to recover. But in 2010, things got worse. She was diagnosed with microvascular angina and lupus, forcing her to cancel her Las Vegas residency. By that point, it was obvious Toni was fighting battles on every front.
That happened because I allowed all my finances to become everyone else's finances. That's pretty much how I got.
When her Las Vegas show got canceled, Toni's insurance didn't even help cover the costs. So guess who had to pay for everything? Production, lighting, musicians, hotels, staff. All of it came out of her own pocket. And just like that, she had to file for bankruptcy again, but it didn't stop there. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, the IRS and California Franchise Tax Board showed up in 2010 ready to collect. They didn't waste time either. Word is, the IRS hit her with a lien before the new year even started. According to a report from a gossip site on December 4th, the IRS claimed she owed $340,252.99 in back taxes from 2017. And just a few days later, the California Franchise Tax Board added their own Linnis one for $116,154.64 altogether. Her debt had climbed to a staggering $456,476. Both agencies made it clear they'll pay up fast or risk losing property. It really makes you wonder, how does someone who's still touring, still a legend, and still in the spotlight keep ending up in the same financial mess?
None of my siblings have helped me take care of my mother to make sure she was okay, except for Tamar. No one said,
this is before Vincent.
Before Vince, Mommy's car insurance is due. Let's help Toni.
Insiders say Toni's problems weren't just about record labels or her health. She was also supporting her entire family, covering bills, handling responsibilities, and being everyone's emotional rock. That pressure only got worse when their reality show took off. Turns out, her sisters weren't happy about how much more Toni and Tamar were getting paid. Things got so tense, production had to pause filming. Toni reportedly walked off, saying she was done. And honestly, after everything she's been through, fame, illness, betrayal, family problems, public embarrassment, who could blame her? Sure, Toni Braxton is still standing, but at what cost? She's openly said she's tired of her sister's behavior. And when you think about it, we're talking about grown women late 40s and 50s, still acting like it's high school, fighting over money and petty drama. Somehow they managed to keep that reality show going, but at home things are falling apart. From blocking each other online to calling the whole family toxic, the situation is spiraling. Toni has officially checked out, and it gets worse. Before Tracey passed, they all promised to keep the peace in her memory, but let's be honest, nobody's sticking to that. Word is, Toni is done with the chaos. She's over it. Rumors say none of the sisters showed up for Tamar's cooking show premiere. Not one. Supposedly, a huge fight broke out 2 days before the launch. After that, Towanda threw major shade online, posting to everyone who distanced themselves from me, "Kindly stay there." Then Towanda married her longtime partner Shaw, all after 9 years. Toni and Trina were in Bridesmaid, but Tamar was nowhere to be seen. So yeah, some sisters are clearly taking sides.
I respect where people are. That's just it. I respect where people are. I don't engage. I don't pour into certain types of energy. I make different choices in my life. And that's just where...
Let's not forget that uncomfortable moment on the show. When someone asked Towanda how she felt about being distant from Tamar, before she could answer, Tamar cut in and said Towanda just doesn't care about her. Tamar claims she's always the one reaching out first, and that Towanda only contacts her when the cameras are on Towanda, never one to stay quiet, shot back with, I don't pour into certain vibes anymore. In other words, she's done giving Tamar that sisterly effort. She even made it clear her focus is now on her own home, her kids, and her man. Her man, period. Honestly, for someone who always seemed calm, it's starting to look like Towanda's been holding things in for a long time. People close to the situation say the tension between them has been building for years. Towanda reportedly leaned on Toni heavily during her divorce. And sure, that's what sisters are for, but now, it seems like Toni feels more used than supported. It's giving, I was there for you. Where were you when I needed you? Fans online are going wild, picking sides like it's a real-life family feud. Some think Towanda has always had an issue with Tamar. Others believe it's plain jealousy over Tamar's career, but it's not just about the two of them, it's affecting everyone. Even Toni, who's always been the one holding things together, seems like she's stepping back. People are whispering that all the stress could be making her health worse again. One fan posted, "We didn't want the Braxtons to come back just to fight. We wanted to see love." Another said, "Sometimes you need a long break from family, and they clearly need one." And one comment really stuck. Toni is owed so much in so many ways. Then came the one that hit the hardest. It always starts with the parents' ass. Their mom, she's the one who needs to be held accountable.
Everybody has a narrative of, we left Tracey behind. We signed without Tracey. Now that part is true. We did sign without Tracey. But the fact is this, we signed in August. Tracey was pregnant with little Kevin. Back in the 90s, you could not be a female and be pregnant. And what they said is they want every woman to want to be like you and for every man to want to be.
But wait, let's rewind for a moment and talk about Tracey. Because if we're being honest, she was the real heartbreak in the whole Braxton story. Before she passed away in 2022, Tracey had already carried years of silent pain. People remember how she was left out of those early record deals after getting pregnant. That moment changed everything. She tried to keep smiling, but it was clear that pain stayed with her. It wasn't just about losing a music opportunity, it affected her connection with Toni. Their relationship wasn't just regular sister drama. It was deep, layered with hurt that never fully healed. The love was there, but it had been hurt too many times to bounce back. Now that Tracey's gone, that pain hasn't disappeared. It lingers, quiet but heavy, like a reminder of everything that was left unsaid.
A little more difficult sometimes. I wake up every morning and I go, oh, did I dream it? Did I dream it? And I have to remind myself, no, she's gone, but she's been here with us for 50 years. So I try to relish in that moment and I try to smile about it and just be grateful for the time you have. And you have to always remember to be kind to one another. We're sisters, so we're always going to fight. That's what sisters do, okay? It's the rite of passage to fuss and fight.
So when Toni says she feels drained, it's not just about money, it's grief, guilt, and everything else that comes with losing someone. Braxton family values might have looked like a win on the outside, but behind the scenes, it was pulling them apart. Think about it, going through real family drama, then having cameras shoved in your face. That's not healing, that's pressure. Toni even said, "I don't want to be the strong one anymore." That line hit fans hard. So many big sisters, oldest daughters, and caretakers felt that deep. And let's not forget Tracey getting left out of those early music deals because of her pregnancy hurt more than her career. It damaged her bond with Toni. Their tension wasn't over petty things. It came from love that had been bruised too many times. Now that Tracey's gone, that pain is still there. It's in Toni's voice when she talks about feeling empty. It's not just about being broke, it's about carrying all that weight alone for years. The show might have looked glamorous, but filming with a family already on edge just added fuel to the fire. And when Toni said she was tired of being the strong one, it wasn't just a moment, it was a breaking point. Whether this next season heals anything or ends it all, one thing's clear, even the strongest ones need someone to ask if they're okay. Because when the cameras turn off and the spotlight fades, all that's left is the truth. And for Toni, that truth has been heavy for far too long. Drop your thoughts in the comments and stick around for what's coming next.